looks like a cheetah is there. Isn't that amazing? So it looks like the baboons are going towards where that cheetah is. Let's go and have a look. It looks like the cheetah is trying to stand its ground, so we're going to just try and get there quickly. Looks like they're having a face-off. Now, a male baboon with a cheetah won't be that scared of it. It knows a cheetah is not nearly as aggressive towards it than it will be to something like a leopard, or lions would be far more of a threat. So this cheetah is maybe going to just try and stand its ground. You'll maybe get a little bit of hissing, but the baboons won't be too phased at all. Now this cheetah is probably going to have a rough time of it if the baboons are coming this way. And there come some impalas as well. I wonder if this cheetah is not going to chase these impalas. Look, the cheetah's chasing the impalas, look! But the baboons are chasing the cheetah. Isn't that amazing? So the baboons have completely ruined this cheetah's hunt. They've tried to chase these impalas, but the baboons have ended up chasing the cheetah, and now the cheetah's being chased all over the place. Searing and try and keep up with this cheetah. It's made its way up north now into this thicket. Well, that was good timing. Like I say, you can see the baboons are not too stressed. If this was a leopard, they would be going absolutely crazy. They wouldn't be anywhere near that animal. But with the cheetah, they know that the cheetah is not something to worry about nearly as much. So what an amazing sighting. It's been a very long time since I've seen cheetah being chased by baboons in the Sabi Sands, I can tell you that much. Both of them are not as easily seen. The baboon numbers have been quite low in the areas that I've worked in, so to see them chasing cheetah is quite something. Now, the cheetahs run into this thicket and the grass is very long, so hopefully we'll be able to find it again. But wasn't that insane, amazing to see the cheetah trying to be opportunistic? So even though it's been cornered by the baboons, that instinct to hunt the impala is still there, and it went racing after the impalas, and that's what sparked the baboons into chasing it, because they know that it's a threat, and maybe they thought it was going to go after one of the young baboons, which would have been a big threat to the whole troop, and that's why the rest of them reacted like that. What a spectacular sighting. Now, it would have been incredible can you imagine if those baboons weren't there? We would have maybe seen that cheetah get absolutely into full speed. Just careful there, Dave. We've got some branches that are coming through. Alright, we're just trying to negotiate our way through here. The nice thing is, just on the other side of this is another big clearing, so in all likelihood this cheetah is going to head towards that clearing. They like the clearings because they can see what's going on from a long way away. But it seems like it's still just the one there, so they still have not found each other, which is unfortunate in some regards. So the guys are just telling me that it's up ahead here somewhere, so I'm just trying to find a way in here. Like I say, you've got to be a bit careful because there's lots of branches and fallen over stumps inside this grass. So you've got to be a little bit wary of going over big stumps and damaging tires or something like that. So let's see if we can try and make our way in here. So, miniature mongoose, no, the baboons are not treating this as a game. They know it's a predator at the end of the day, and so they're being very wary about it. And they're trying to enforce that they are not to be hunted. So they're trying to show the cheetah, don't hunt me, don't try and come after me. I'm not worth being hunted because we are strong enough to chase you as a group. So that's basically what the message the baboons are trying to send is. So I'm trying to actually see where this cheetah is. Apparently it's somewhere here. Maybe on the other side of this termite mound. So we're going to just try and sneak in. Ah, there it is. I can actually just see the top of its ears. Just saying hello to some of the other guides. So we are in an area where some of the commercial lodges operate. And so I've worked with a lot of these guys for a long time. So it's just nice to say hello to them. So this cheetah's coming just in front of us here. I don't know if you see it there, Dave. Unfortunately, the grass is so long, all we see is ears at this stage, but just there you can see its face peeking through. Now you can imagine the camouflage here, so if it goes to a place where it opens out again, it can sit from these areas, and in this long grass there's going to be no impalas that are going to see that. And you can also see why it's so difficult to spot them. So when we first got onto the plains, it was going to be quite tough. In grass like this, you can see this cheetah just absolutely melts away and becomes really tough to see. I'm just going to try and reposition us around the tree. Okay, so while we try and get ourselves into a good place to be able to view this cheetah, let's go back to Brent, who I believe has got some big pachyderms. It is exciting indeed, Brent, and it couldn't have been more exciting. I rock up and there's baboons and cheetah and impalas and then just chaos. Now this cheetah has just kind of come into this thicket, and I think it's just regrouped and kind of just reassessed the situation. It keeps stopping and looking around and just trying to see where exactly it is. Maybe it's a bit disorientated from being chased. It just ran away and now it's just trying to work out exactly where it went. So he keeps going around in circles. But isn't that the most magnificent cat you've seen? He is absolutely beautiful. Now he is in need of a meal, looking quite skinny, but with cheetah they do often look like this. It's not a huge issue when they're a little bit thinner like this. They do pick up weight again quite quickly. So as long as he finds something like an impala, he'll be able to fill that stomach up quite quickly. Now it seems like he's slowly going to make his way back towards the open area, which will be interesting, but you can see sniffing all the time. Now this is the same cheetah we keep seeing on this open area. So this is one of the brothers, but it's not the one with the opaque eye. It's the one with the Y on the left cheek. And so maybe he's just sniffing around trying to see if there's been any sign of his brother in the last few days, that maybe he can get onto the scent trail and try and find him again. But he's making our life a bit difficult because he keeps moving in these funny ways. Often cats will move in a straight direction, but this cheetah is doing anything but. Everything is going in circles at this stage. Just come. But it looks like he's slowly going to edge his way back towards Cheetah Plains itself in the big open area. Isn't that camouflage incredible? You can see how easy it would be to miss that animal. Those spotted coats and that gold in this backlit grass is almost impossible to see. Now the amazing thing about the cheetah running just now, which is incredible, is that cheetah probably didn't even get to halfway to its top speed. It probably was only at about 60 kilometers an hour, which is not very fast at all. It can go much faster. This animal can go as much as 110 kilometers an hour. So it was basically just trotting away from those baboons and the impala, and it all happened so fast that you would think that it wouldn't be able to go much quicker, but it can. So like I say, the impalas can thank the baboons today. If it wasn't for those baboons, there would be one less impala in this world. Now I've lost him. Where has he gone? Dave, you see him? I don't know if maybe he's... Oh, there he is. I thought maybe he lay down, but he's just sniffing around there. There we go. So you can see noses going on everything, smelling all over the place. So I'm sure he's trying to pick up the scent of another cheetah. That's what he's looking for. Either that, or he's found somewhere where he can smell where a potential prey animal has been lying down last night. So sometimes they'll pick up the scent of duikers or steenbok, and they find an area where they lay down, and they know that that animal won't move too far, because being small animals, they don't have the biggest territories, and they sometimes sniff around looking for those animals too. But I think this is more trying to find his brother. That's what it looks like to me. Like I say, it's so pretty with that backlit grass and a little bit of gold that's coming through, and then this cheetah that's just breaking up that grassy outline. It's a spectacular image. Now I'm hoping after all of this, and after all the running around and chasing, that this cheetah is going to be able to go out into the open and give us a really nice display. There is a waterhole that's not too far from us, so I'm hoping that it's going to go up there and maybe we even get it drinking or lying on that the wall of that water hole. We get a really decent view because, like I say, in this grass it's quite difficult to see him. So Potato, yes, we can count their spots to identify them like leopards. So we use certain facial markings, or on around the ears, around the head. This particular male has a Y on his left side of his face, around his eyes, and that's how we identify him. His brother's a little bit easier because his brother's got a little opaque eye, so he's starting to get cataracts forming, and so you can actually see the coloration difference in the eyes. But yes, you can use spot patterns, you can use nicks out of the ears, or little scratches on the face, or any sort of spot that distinguishes it from another. So if you see an arrangement of spots on the coat that could potentially show you that it's a different animal, then we use those. Also, the nice thing about cheetah in this area is that there's so few of them, and so it's easy to get to know them because they are not very numerous, and so the ones that are here, we get to identify them quite quickly. In fact, in this area we only have these two males that we see regularly, and then last week we had two unidentified males arriving, which was really quite special. So in total there's only those 4 males, and then there's a female that comes every now and then, but she hasn't been seen for a while. A few years ago, in about 2011, 2012, we had a female that used to hang around here all the time. We used to see her a lot, and she was very distinctive. She used to have a scar that ran on her left side, I think it was. I can't remember now, it could be her right side, but it used to run from her front legs to her back legs, and apparently she was attacked by lions in her early days, and she was attacked all the way at Lower Sabi. Now, Lower Sabi is right in the southeastern corner of the Kruger National Park, up against the Mozambique boundary, and that area is probably, as the crow flies, at least 60 kilometers away. And so she was attacked by lions, and she got this massive gash on her side, and she managed to survive that, and then she ended up coming all the way this way, and she was here for a long time with her female cub, and they spent a lot of time moving around in this area, and then they just disappeared. And it was such a shame because we used to see them almost daily at one point, and they were absolutely beautiful. And the two of them together, especially when the female got a little bit older, the female cub got a bit older, they used to hunt together, and it was amazing to watch them. They used to use their airstrips a lot of the time, so that you would find them on the edge of an airstrip, and they worked out that if they just came onto the edge of the airstrip, they'd often find prey animals close to the airstrip, and then they would chase them along the airstrip. So you used to get this cheetah running at full speed down the airstrip, chasing duiker and impalas and steenbok. I'll never forget, actually, my first drive when I was at Chitwa. I went out in the afternoon, and I thought, well, I'll just take it very easy. It's my first drive, I'm going to go explore. And I ended up going onto the airstrip, and there was this female cheetah with her cub on my first afternoon, not even 5 minutes into drive, and they were very relaxed, and we decided to sit with them for a bit, and all of a sudden a steenbok came out on the other side of the airstrip, and she took off at full speed down the runway, and it was, I don't think you could ask for anything better. It was like a plane taking off, and she managed to catch the steenbok on the southern end of the runway. It was pretty incredible. So that was my first introduction to the cheetahs of this area. And like I say, I'm quite sad that she's gone. It would have been nice if she was still around, because these two males definitely would have sought her out, and they would have potentially bred with her, and we could have had little cheetah cubs running around now. Wouldn't that be something? There's not many things in this world as cute as a little cheetah cub. Yeah. We're right there. Is any stump there, Doe?
No, you're good.
Good? Cool. The cheetah's sense of smell is not as good as lion and leopard, and that's why they're battling to relocate one another as these brothers. Well, it's not that they don't have, their sense of smell is just as good as both lion and leopard, but the problem is that a cheetah doesn't like to make as much noise as either of those two. Both of those two animals like to, or can call, and they both know that they can defend themselves somewhat. So even if they are calling and a potential other predator arrives, they can defend themselves and protect themselves, whereas this cheetah is going to be a bit nervous of that, because it's going to know that if it makes a noise, then things like hyenas, leopard, lions can all come in and try and chase this cheetah. So that's why it's not making too much noise. A lot of the time when cheetah and leopard and lions find one another, if they get separated, it's through vocalizing, not through sense of smell. Also, the problem is that these cheetah have a massive territory. They stretch way into the Kruger National Park, way north into Torchwood, Buffelshoek, Manyeleti, and south into Mala Mala. So the area that they're occupying is massive, and that's why it's tough for them. They keep missing each other. The other day they were very, very close, and they unfortunately went around one another and didn't actually get to see each other. And that's mostly to do with the fact that they didn't vocalize. So had they vocalized, they would have found one another. The sense of smell is only if they come across it in its recent will they be able to track it down. So, you know, if the other male came through here 2 weeks ago, that scent is all but gone by now. So welcome back, guys, and isn't this absolutely spectacular? Could not ask for anything better when it comes to a cheetah. He's up on this fallen over tree, and Dave and I have been hoping that he would come here, and he was angling completely the opposite direction, and then he just changed direction at the last minute and has come up and is posing in the most incredible way. It is possibly one of the best cheetah sightings I've had in a very, very long time. It is absolutely incredible, and he's been up there now for a solid 10 minutes, just sitting, completely ignored the impalas that we had earlier, and has come up here now and is just looking around and posing like an absolute champion. It's an incredible sighting of a cheetah. You can see he's starting to get a bit warm. His breathing has quickened a little bit, and he's scanning all over the place. Now, I did incorrectly ID it. It is actually the one with the opaque eye. The left-hand side, or left-hand eye, is starting to go a little bit opaque. And it's interesting because the tree that he's on now, there is some old dung from a cheetah. Now, whether it's his or his brother's, I'm not quite sure. But he's been up there and he's sniffed around for a long time. And so I think, in all likelihood, it's maybe his brother's. And that's why he's just stopping to look around to see what's going on. And to see if there's any sort of sign. But the dung is very, very old. It's just behind where his tail is there, just over there. And so I'm just showing Dave where it is, but there you can see it just on the log, a little bit to the left there, Dave. There we go. So that's the dung right there. And so that's what it's sniffing, but none of it is very fresh. It's all quite old. It's desiccated, so I don't think there's too much sign of, and he'll know that that's not fresh and not to worry, but still just watching from up there. And like I say, the shot itself is just absolutely incredible, and the sun has just come out. We've got these storm clouds in the background. It is something quite spectacular. You can see, look at that tail as well as it moves. Absolutely beautiful. So you can see how flattened that tail is there. So that's that rudder that helps them when they're going at that incredible speed that they go at. It just helps for them to be able to turn quickly. It's very different to the tail of a lion or a leopard. They will have those kind of long tails with a big bob on the end, and theirs are much more rounded and not as flattened as what this is. So quite incredible, the difference in that. And you can see the spots clearly. Really stunning cat, this. So, Mike, you were asking about the cataracts and whether or not they affect this cheetah when hunting. Well, it can possibly affect them. Obviously, their depth perception will be a little bit out. But for the most part, I've watched this cheetah hunt, and he's had this for quite a while now. It started developing in about, I think it was about 2014, he started to get this cataract starting to come through. And so the fact that he survived this long with it means that he's obviously found a way. So his other eye will be good, and then he's got incredible senses when it comes to smell and hearing. You can see those rounded ears, and then those whiskers are also going to play a huge part in it. Now his eye is not fully opaque as well, so he's probably still got a little bit of vision out of that left eye. So it's just his depth perception will be slightly out, but he still manages to be able to do the job and to get the food that he needs, especially now. You can imagine they've been split apart, the two brothers, so he might have relied on his brother for a bit, but these two have been apart now for almost a month, and he would never have been able to survive like that if he couldn't catch his own food. So he's definitely making a plan, and he's just utilizing all the other senses to be able to find the food that he needs and catch what he's targeting. Also, he's lucky he's in an area where it's quite dense and thick, so he can get himself into places where they normally would, and so he can burst out with that speed, and it means he can get quite close to them quickly, and so he probably spots things a lot closer than what he would if he was in places like Kenya or Tanzania, or even in the salt pans of Botswana, where the field of view is just that much further, and you'd have to rely on really excellent eyesight to be able to see them. But isn't that spectacular? It's so nice also to see the cheetah being active and up and moving around. Jackie, yes, the flies are driving us nuts. It's driving the cheetah mad. You can see its ears are flicking all the time, the tail's moving all the time, and Dave and I are being absolutely hounded by them as well. They're all over our face and legs, and it is quite uncomfortable, but when you've got a sight like that, it's worth dealing with, that's for sure. But you can imagine for a cat how much worse it must be, all in their ears and up their noses and in their mouth. It really can't be comfortable at all. So you can see there on the feet, if you have a look, you will see that the claws are actually exposed. So on lion and leopard, you would have found that the claws would have been sheathed. You wouldn't see those claws. And the reason why the cheetah has its claws exposed is because when it runs so fast that it needs those claws to act much like an athlete's shoes have the little spikes on them, so it grips much better. So when they're chasing an animal, their claws dig in, and it helps for them to get the traction that they need to run so fast, as well as the traction when they're turning to be able to make sharp turns to get out of there and get towards the animal that they're chasing. So very, very much needed, and you'll see that their claws are far more blunt than the lion and leopards, and that's because of being out. It's much like a dog. They wear down on everything, so as this cheetah is walking, it's wearing those claws all the time, so they're not nearly as sharp. But what they do have is slightly higher up, it's difficult to see from this angle, is they've got what's called a dew claw, which sits a little bit higher than the paw, and that claw is still very sharp. So when they're trying to catch prey items, they'll use that dew claw just to trip up that animal, and it basically hooks in and allows them some sort of grip to knock that animal down, and then they grab it from there. Now, I did hear the oxpeckers from those impalas just now, so I wonder if the impalas are not too far, and this cheetah's just watching them and seeing where they're going to go. I can't actually see the impalas myself, but they weren't too far from where we are now earlier, so I'm hoping that maybe they're coming down this slope, and this cheetah then is going to maybe potentially hunt. But he's being so obliging sitting up there. It's amazing. It doesn't even look like the Sabi Sands. It looks like something out of East Africa. Nature is beautiful, I agree, definitely worth the wait. It's been a bit of a frustrating morning with the signal, and it's been difficult to go up and down, but waiting for this and to see this going up into the tree is just absolutely incredible. It was interesting because he actually crossed into the Kruger National Park, so we thought we had gone and that was the end of it. And like I say, he changed direction and came back to us and keeps looking around a little bit. But this is obviously a tree they utilize often, these two, so you'll find that they probably come to this regularly, and that's why he's come here, is to just check if there's any sign. And as he's moved along, all these fallen over trees, like we see here, he's defecated on. So he's urinated, he defecated on one of the trees further back, and so he's leaving a very clear signal to not only his brother but any other cheetah that potentially comes through here. Like I was saying last week, we had 2 new males or unidentified males, and so if they come this way, they then know that this is this cheetah's territory and that they must not come into it and not try their luck, as these guys will then chase them away. It also serves as a chemical signature to any female. There you go, see his scent marking? So he's just spraying. That's the 3rd time he's actually urinated on this particular tree, so he's urinated quite a bit. And I think he's going to decide to come down now. So Carol, yes, they actually do mark our territory. They are very territorial, particularly the males. And in areas like this where we have such a low density, they're going to be highly territorial of their area. They're going to make sure that they defend an area so that if there's a female that comes out here, that there isn't another male that steals them before they get there. So they do mark regularly, and places that they mark is like this. So you're not like lion and leopard that typically mark on the roads or on pathways. These guys will always mark on some sort of structure. So they use trees, mostly fallen over trees, but I have seen them also use standing trees. So they utilize those kind of landmarks that are very prominent within these open areas. And any cheetah that walks through here knows that it's going to go up onto one of these to try and scan around. And so if they scent mark on those, then they will be seen or smelt, should I say, by any other cheetah that comes past. Its own back at the moment, and it needs that really flexible spine to be able to run the speeds that it does. That spine bends a lot more than anybody else's, and so it allows those front legs to come right forward to be able to get the strides that they get. So a cheetah, when it's running at full speed, will be covering about 7 meters in a stride, which is quite incredible. Now he's just turned around and he's looking very intently behind us. There is a little water hole that we have behind us here, and maybe those impalas have gone to that water hole, and that's why he's staring. He can actually see those impalas again. I can't see anything, but it's possible. Dave, you see anything? No. The gnome, you would like to know how far we are from the cheetah, so I'm going to ask Dave to come back so that he can show you that we are not very far at all. You can see the cheetah is just here to my left hand side, so we're probably, in terms of meters, I would say we're about 15 meters from this cheetah, which is really not far at all. But you can see the cheetah is not even paying any attention to us whatsoever. It's busy looking around everywhere but at us, and so it doesn't see us in any way as a food item or a threat, and that's why he's happy to sit up on this tree. If it perceived us to be a problem, this cheetah would have been down this tree and running long ago and wouldn't have allowed us to even park where we are now. So these cheetah are very relaxed and they don't see us as food at all, otherwise it would have tried to have hunted us many times before. These males have been in the Sabi Sands now since about 2011, so I mean it's been a long time that they've been around vehicles and seen vehicles, and so they've become very relaxed with it. But we actually potentially, when he was walking along, he came a lot closer a few times. He came right past the vehicle, but we parked a little bit further away just because we wanted the scale of it and the scene of it on this fallen over tree. It's just so spectacular with being a little bit further away and just seeing the whole area and the view that we have from here. So I'm just trying to see what he's seeing, but I don't see anything in the distance. There is a little bit of a bush line where there's a whole bunch of trees, and it's blocking our view slightly. And these guys have far better eyesight and hearing than what we do, and so it's very possible that this animal can see something that we can't, and can see those impalas maybe moving around in those bushes, and from here we just don't see it. But we'll soon enough know. If it is something that it wants to hunt, you'll find this cheetah will go down and start doing it. I think he's just seen some sort of movement, and so is just looking around just to determine what it is. earlier when we went past the cheetah, he stopped and looked at them, and then he just walked on. He wasn't really too interested in it. And even though he could do with a meal, you can see he's quite skinny there, and his stomach is sucked in. But like I said, it's not too bad for a cheetah. I've seen them worse than that. Even though he's like that, I think he's more concerned about trying to find the other male than it is about food. Alright, so we're going to stay with this cheetah for as long as we can. It's such a spectacular sighting. And while we do that, let's go back to Brent and see what he's been up to over the last little bit. So he just moved a little bit, so we just repositioned slightly. He was facing the other way, and then as we've gone live, he's turned around and faced the other way again. So back to where he was before. He did a bit of sharpening of claws, and you can actually see between his legs there, urinated on the tree again. So like I said, that's the 4th time he's urinated. It's really heavy scent marking. Generally cats won't mark nearly as much. You can see there how the wood is wet, and there we go, down he goes. Now let's see where he's going to go. There, like I said to you, there is a pan not too far from here, so in all likelihood he might head there for a drink. And wouldn't it be nice if we get him drinking as well? It would be like the complete morning. We've seen him being chased by baboons, we've seen him chase impalas, gone up a fallen over tree for us and posed beautifully. And if he goes and drinks, it'll just be the cherry on the top, that's for sure. So let's have a look how this goes. Exciting that was.
So
Christine, a female and a male cheetah, there's not too much difference. There's not as much dimorphism as what you would see on a leopard or a lion. So leopards, obviously the male has that dewlap and he gets very chunky and big, and on a lion he gets the big mane. On a cheetah they are very similar, they look very similar, but the males tend to be a little bit more bulky, so they're slightly taller and a little bit bigger around the head area. The females tend to be a little bit smaller than what the males are in that, but there's really not too many major differences, so you don't see a huge difference in the head or any sort of thickness of the coat or any skin that drops from the neck area. You can see his neck is very, very clean. There's no dewlap, so it's just a little bit bigger, that's all it is. And then obviously underneath the tail, slightly different appendages between the male and the female. He's just stopped again, listening out. I wonder if he hasn't potentially seen those impalas somewhere close by. Because he's walking and stopping and walking and stopping, and he seems quite alert as to what's going on. You can also see he's slunk down slightly, so he's kind of just dropping his body shape a little bit, and then he stops to look up and then goes down again. So he knows if he walks a little bit flatter, then the grass is going to hide him and be able to conceal him. So, Vanessa, you want to know how long a cheetah can last without a meal? It depends on the size of the meal they had before. If they had something really large, let's say they catch a big impala and they're absolutely full-bellied, then they can probably go easily as much as 2 weeks, but they would be absolutely starving by then. They would be really battling. So generally we find with cheetah that they are eating normally every sort of 3 to 4 days, sometimes a little bit more. They do have a very high metabolic rate, and so they digest things very, very quickly, and they burn energy when they run. They run at such a speed that they burn huge amounts of energy. So they hunt a little bit more than that, but with all cats, their success rate is never very good, and so they chase a lot and miss a lot, and so sometimes you'll find a situation where these cheetahs can maybe attempt 10, 15 hunts before they're successful. Sorry about that. Successful, and then they'll be able to get the nutrients that they need. So they do hunt most days, particularly in weather like this where it's a bit dreary and overcast and quite difficult to see. You could potentially see them hunting in this. So they'll take any opportunity that they can as well. Being a cat, even though they can last that long, they very seldom get to that. They'll try and take any chance they can get. And so even if this cheetah sees an impala running towards it, like what we saw with the baboons and the impala earlier, when the impalas were trotting along with the baboons, they didn't see the cheetah, and the cheetah took the opportunity and ran at the impalas. And if it wasn't for those baboons, I can tell you right now that one of those impalas would have been caught. So it just depends on the situation. But I'm interested now. This cheetah's doing a big loop. It went northwards and now it's actually going back southwest, pretty much the way that we came. So I'm not sure where it's off to. I just need to know. Yeah, Rex, this cheetah is now mobile north on the eastern side of Buff Pan. You can still make your way. We're at the pan itself, close to the pump house. Copy, yeah, just come to the western side of Buff Pan. You should get my visual there. So I'm not sure what this cheetah has spotted. It now seems that it's not interested in anything. It's not looking in the same direction it was earlier. But it's obviously something has piqued its interest. I agree, James. It is really nice to spend time with a cheetah on the hunt. It's been a very long time since I've spent time with them moving like this. They generally, like you say, are full-bellied and resting in the heat of the afternoon, or they've eaten during the early hours of the morning, and by the time we get to them, they're flat and kind of just looking around, or they just amble around. They don't actually do too much. So to see one highly mobile like this one is, and moving and up and down trees and chasing and looking for food, is quite spectacular. So the problem here is the grass is so long I actually can't even see him. He's in... Ah, there he is. Sorry, because I don't want to drive into him, and I didn't actually see him until the last second there. You can see how difficult it is to actually see the head of him in this grass. He's coming out now into a little bit more of an open section, which is quite nice. So, giveaway bucket. Cheetah females, no, they don't travel like lions in prides. A cheetah female is solitary unless she has her young. If she's got her young, then she will be traveling in groups. So sometimes you'll see like a cheetah with 6 or 7 young ones, and that will just be when it's her cubs. But in that she'll be solitary. The males, though, do form coalitions, like the lion coalitions that we get, like the Birmingham boys. The males will do that, like these cheetah, as we've been saying all morning. He's been looking for his brother a lot, and so in all likelihood, I think I'm going to have to go forward, there's a big stump here. In all likelihood, you know, he's trying to find him, and so they do spend a lot of time as coalitions. I have seen big coalitions of cheetah. The biggest coalition I've seen of males was 7. Now, these 2 that you see here, they initially were 4. There was 4 of them the first time I saw them, and unfortunately it's just down to the 2 now. I'm not sure what happened to the other 2. Everybody kind of has different theories, but I'm sure lions or hyenas were involved somewhere along the way there. But it's becoming quite difficult to negotiate here. There's lots of steep banks and, like I say, lots of long grass, so just trying to negotiate a way through. I'm going to take a different route to Rexon, so right way here. I'm just going to try and get us to this little open clearing that we can actually see what's going on. But if you had to come across here now, you would never even know there was a cheetah in that thick grass. So you can see it's also all about timing, particularly in places like the Kruger Park where you can't off-road like we can. You can see it would be almost impossible, and you would drive right past it without even knowing. And so that's why in the summer months it can be a little bit tougher with game viewing. Whatever this cheetah has spotted, he's definitely moving quite quickly. It's amazing how he sat up on that log for 20 minutes, completely docile, didn't look as though he was going to go anywhere, and all of a sudden is down and is moving at a rate of knots. I was hoping he was going to cut a little bit further south, because there's a beautiful big open clearing there and this beautiful pan, and it would have been so nice to go there. Now I wonder if he didn't drink here because it's just too thick around that pan. So that pan is very densely foliated, and so it would be quite a difficult place to see anything else coming. It can often get surprised there. So that's maybe why it's trying to go somewhere else. Alright, so we're going to carry on following and see what we can find, and while we do that, let's go back to Brent and see what he's been up to and what he's managed to find. We managed to come out of a little dip, and we're now back on the top. And this cheetah's, interestingly, it's gone around in almost a full circle. We're now on the northern side of that waterhole, and it's just gone up onto this termite mound and is looking. I think it's spotted something at the water, and it's now lost it. So it's up on the mound, searching around here, and it kind of went up onto the mound just to see, and I think it's lost whatever it was looking at. Maybe there was a small little duiker or a steenbok maybe that was somewhere close by, and that's what it had spotted, and now it's lost its visual. So it's gone up onto this big mound just to have a look. But he's posed in every way you could imagine. It's been quite incredible. It's one of those mornings that you can predict with the cheetah. Like I say, has been up and down and on fallen over trees, termite mounds, so all the things you would want a cheetah to do, he has done this morning. So he has been very obliging to us, and we've been so fortunate to have spent so much time with him. But you can see the flies are still at it, and they're still bothering him. In fact, the flies have actually gotten worse now that we've got into this thicker bush. There are a little bit more of them, and they're all over us at the moment. I look like I'm covered in them. And I think Darby's also getting lots of them on him, so we feel for this cheetah, can understand his frustration. The movement of this cheetah has been so erratic this morning. It's definitely an indicator of how these males are trying to find one another. Generally, when they were together, they used to just walk in one direction, north-south, and that was it. Or they would cut east, and that's all you used to see of them. But this morning, he's gone east, west, south, north, all over the place, looking around wherever he's gone. So he's definitely trying to find his brother, but no luck so far. There you can see all the flies on the face there, and you can see those beautiful tear stripes that come down their face that distinguishes them so clearly from a leopard. Now those little tear marks are all there just to help with glare. So because a cheetah hunts more during the day, and it's often reduced glare and help them to see a little bit better, particularly when it's very bright sunshine. This morning it's quite overcast, so it's not too bad, but it's hot and so you'll find most of your diurnal animals will have that black around the eye, whereas the nocturnals will have white. When it's lions hunting buffalo, then generally you try and just keep your distance a little bit more than you would if it was a leopard hunting an impala. Leopards, if they stalk up to an impala, you can actually sometimes sit quite close and they don't really get too affected by it. Whereas when it's something like lions hunting a buffalo, because the buffalo are big brute animals and they panic when they run, you don't want to be anywhere near a buffalo when it gets chased. I've had 2 incidents where I've seen vehicles being absolutely smashed by buffalo with lions on the back of them. The one of them was quite something. You could actually see afterwards the buffalo's perfect horn shape on the side of the car where it had smashed into it. So it was quite entertaining. Well, not entertaining, quite scary actually. The funniest part about it was there was a guest on that vehicle that the buffalo hit, and it was all at night, and it happened so fast that we got back to the lodge, and the guest actually said to me he didn't know that the buffalo had even run into the car. Now, if you had seen the impact, the whole car shifted sideways, it cut out completely, so the impact was huge. So the fact that he didn't know was quite amazing to me. I don't know how he didn't realize that a buffalo had just smashed into the car, but anyway. But with cheetah, generally try to give them a bit of space because you're in more open sections, so you can see from much further away, and so it's much better to be able to see what's going on, and so you give them as much space as you can, and because they also run so fast, you want to be able to pan with them and see them as they go, so being right up close to them is often not the best thing. So as it goes along. But we always try to be as respectful as possible and try not show the predator to the prey. So as soon as you can see that a prey animal is in any way looking at you, then it's time to turn off and let that predator do their thing. So even if you can't see very nicely, then that's how we do it. We try not to disturb any hunts as much as possible. Robin, yes, the birds and squirrels do alarm calls lions. Both alarm calling a cheetah. You find the francolins and the guinea fowl will make a bit of a noise when a cheetah walks past, but generally they're pretty relaxed with it. They're not too stressed. The birds and the squirrels in particular know that cheetah's not going to climb into the tree and grab them, so they not shout at them briefly to warn everybody else that they have spotted a potential threat, but not nearly as much as the poor leopards. The leopards get shouted at the most, definitely, by birds and squirrels, and that's because leopards will actually kill those animals. Cheetah generally don't waste their time with that. It's very seldom that you'll see a cheetah go after a francolin or a squirrel. They typically after small antelope species, so duiker and steenbok is more what they'll hunt. Although in coalitions, I've seen, in fact, these two male cheetah, I've seen them bring down young kudu and young zebra, so they can hunt quite big animals, and the more there are of them, the bigger the animal can be. I have seen photographs of cheetah bringing down adult wildebeest, so they definitely are stronger when they're together, but things like squirrels and francolins really aren't on the menu for them that much, so that's why they don't get shouted at nearly as much as what the leopard does. Yes, Margaret, we are on Cheetah Plains. We're right on the northeastern corner of Cheetah Plains where it meets in Koro and the Kruger National Park. So we've come off the open area. We had this cheetah on Cheetah Plains itself, on the plains area, and it was chased by baboons. And it's now then come all the way up into this northeastern corner. And we actually thought for a bit we had lost it. It crossed into Kruger and then it came back to us again. So we've been very fortunate with that. And I'm pretty sure by this afternoon this cheetah is going to either be in the Kruger National Park or it's going to be in Nkoro. I very much doubt that it'll still be on Cheetah Plains. It's looking around all over the place. It hasn't settled at all this morning. It's been looking everywhere. So I'm pretty sure it's still on this hunt for its brother at this stage. Well, Thomas, you would like to know whether cheetahs would compete for territory with a leopard. Try to avoid it at all costs. Leopards will actually kill cheetah, and there's quite a few recorded cases of cheetah being dragged up into trees by a leopard after they've been killed. So a cheetah tries to avoid a leopard as much as possible. It's not to say that their territories don't overlap, though. So you will find cheetah and leopard occurring in the exact same area, but they definitely will not compete for territory. You'll find a cheetah will try and get away from a leopard as much as possible. And so let's say we came here and there was a leopard in one of these trees, that cheetah would have turned around and run the opposite direction, and then it will come back here in a few weeks' time or a few days' time, and that leopard in all likelihood is not going to be here, so the cheetah will then pass through. So it's a difficult life for cheetah. Unfortunately, they get chased around by everybody, and so they can't really compete for a territory. They can't fight with leopards over an area. They just got to know that leopards are there and just be aware of them and try and avoid them as much as possible. Look anything like rain, so let's go and have a look and see what Brent has gotten up to.